Hi, how are you? We are moving on now to hydration. Okay, so we've covered the importance of protein, carbohydrates, fats, and fiber, how it's important to get it from whole foods, not processed foods, how much carbohydrates that we should need when we're really physically active, what we should do at halftime after sport, and same with regard to protein. Okay, so we should know all about that. Guidelines for fats, good fats and bad fats, and now we're moving on to hydration. Okay, the learning outcome for this is discuss the importance of hydration in different physical activity and settings. Okay, so the first thing we really need to know is why is it so important to be hydrated? Okay, so what effect will that have on us in sport? Okay, so there's a few examples there. So regulates body temperature, lubricates joints, flushes out waste products, carries nutrients and oxygen to the cells, helps dissolve minerals and nutrients, helps prevent constipation, and moistens tissues such as eyes, mouth, and nose. Okay, so I'd say the main one that people would know is it cools us down. Okay, but look at all the other really important contributions it has to us in terms of sport. Okay, so make sure you know them. Why is it so important to consume water prior to exercise? So we need enough fluid for optimum exercise and recovery. Why? Because exercises increase our body temperature. So it regulates our body temperature, but when we exercise, we sweat more. Why? Because we're warm, we're trying to cool the body down. Sweating causes the loss of water and salts through the skin. And depending on intensity and duration, environmental temperature, clothing, and genetics, we may sweat more. So if you're out in the Sahara Desert running, you're going to lose a lot more water. If you're if you're a goalkeeper in hockey, if you're wearing a helmet in hurling, if it's a really hot, humid day, it's very important that we're hydrated beforehand, and then we're taking on water regularly. Okay, and if you see there, a key word there is we're losing water and salts, so we need to replace them salts with electrolytes. Okay, so a little cycle here. Start at the top. Exercise increases body temperature. The body releases sweat to try and bring the temperature down. Okay, example I talk about in class is, dogs don't sweat. How do they cool themselves down? They pant, they pant their tongue. Okay, so we sweat to cool us down. Okay, we lose water and salt through sweating, and then that loss needs to be replaced. Okay, I don't know why I'm talking about dogs. Sweat levels vary depending on intensity and duration. So was it 2 hours long? We were running in very hot weather. Or was it 10 minutes and you were in a cold climate? Okay, so longer and higher intensity increase in wet sweat loss. Temperature, hot humid conditions. Okay, so that's why a lot of teams, before they would go to Japan for the World Cup in 2019 for rugby, they would train in them kind of conditions. That's why a lot of teams would do that warm weather training out in Portugal and so on, to get used to that temperature and also to push themselves further. Okay, so their strength and conditioning coaches may do that to make it harder, and therefore they might have better adaptation. Clothing, so you see people who are boxers with their hood up and hoodies, they might be trying to lose weight for a fight. And in genetics, some people are just prone to sweating than others. Okay, so they have a high sweat rate. That's what it's called. And that's just an effective little study. I think it's in one of the textbooks. Body temperature during 90 minutes, heat stress test, correctly hydrated and dehydrated. So hydrated in blue and dehydrated in green. You can see the difference in the body temperature and what's happening. And then their heart rate. So dehydrated, look at the increase in heart rate after 60 minutes versus the correctly hydrated people. How do we know if we're hydrated or not? By a P chart, okay, a urine color chart to be fancy. So hydrated are the top three, dehydrated the middle three, severely hydrated the last two. Okay, if your urine matches the color 7 and 8, severely dehydrated, and you should consult a doctor. 1 to 3 is ideal. You can check that yourself the next time you go pee. Okay, dehydration causes an increase in body temperature and heart rate. Why? This is why, and this is the stuff we need, because we need the academic language to talk about this. So plasma volume decreases, therefore the amount of blood traveling around the body decreases, so the heart has to work harder to get oxygen to the muscles. So plasma volume decreases, the amount of blood traveling around the body decreases, the heart is working harder. Okay, so that's why another word for that is blood becomes more viscous, thick, and hard to pass around the body because we're dehydrated. Okay, I think that's Self-explanatory is a bit much. Okay, dehydration is what then? Small water losses, but are not harmful to the body, so that's okay. But dehydration is water loss in excess of 2% of body mass. What happens? Increased heart rate, increased body temperature, increased physiological strain, so how hard we think it is. We reduce our cognitive functioning, we reduce aerobic capacity, reduce strength, tiredness, and we urinate less. Okay, and a nice little diagram on the right hand side there for you, dehydration. Okay, so not good, them things, are they? Okay, so heart rates increase, so now I'm going to think this activity is harder. Increased body temperature, you're looking for more water. I maybe not able to pick up the ball like I usually do, or run as fast as I can. Not sure where I should be. Reducing cognitive function, it reduces our aerobic capacity, so I'm not able to go for as longer. Okay, there's a nice little diagram as well. So what does 1% do? Has in terms of sweat loss as a percentage of body weight. Negative effect on metabolism. 2% reduced thermoregulation. That's the fancy word for regulating our temperature and reduce endurance. And as it goes on, if we lose more than 6% of our body weight in sweat, cramp, exhaustion, loss of consciousness, coma, death. Okay, so it is important that we are hydrated. Okay, how do we do it? Pre-hydrate, hydrate, and rehydrate. So pre-hydrate, pre-performance. Tailor hydration guidance to suit each individual. The aim is to maintain euhydration. We don't want to be, we want to make sure that our water intake matches water output. So in general, exercise up to 1 hour in length of water is sufficient. We spoke about in our last topic that a lot of our activities that we take part in Ireland, the most common ones, soccer, hurling, football, rugby, camogie, they're over an hour, even though they're half an hour aside. We've got a warm up and a half time in there. Okay, so after 60 minutes, it may become increasingly important to replace the salts and electrolytes. Okay, how? With the drinks on the right hand side, or you can make your own one. Okay, you can make your own little My Body. Okay, so as intensity and environment changes, so should water consumption. Extreme cases may require becoming 1 litre per hour to maintain this word up here, euhydration, which is hydrated. Okay. There's an example. So sports drinks. Why do you think isotonic sports drinks can be useful? We get our glucose, which replenishes our carbohydrate stores. There's electrolytes in there, which replenish salt losses through sweating, and also involve maintaining fluid balance and muscle contractions. But you can make your own one for cheaper. Fruit juice, like My Body, 800 milliliters of water and a pinch of salt. So that's why people drink them at half time. Are they good first thing in the morning? Absolutely not. Okay, only when we have insufficient amount of carbohydrates, salts, and we are thirsty because of something we've taken part in. That's just an example of some of the ingredients that are in some of these drinks. Okay, so an isotonic sports drink here, isoactive, so you can't really see that properly there, but it gives an idea what's in them. Okay, so sometimes we need to know that. Hypo versus hyper versus isotonic. I think this came up once. There's 3 commonly types of sports drinks. Hypotonic is rapid rehydration. We would use this after a long ride, hot weather, when you need to rehydrate quickly and effectively. Okay, so hypotonic. Hypertonic has higher concentration of fluid, sugars, and salt than blood. And this is large doses as a recovery drink after an intense or sustained exercise for extra carbohydrates in the lead up to a race. And isotonic is one we've discussed. Shorter duration or high intensity workouts when we want carbohydrates over hydration during endurance exercise. So it has similar concentration to the fluid, sugars, and salted blood. Up here there was a lower concentration. Okay. Okay, that's for you. Maybe you can track your hydration. Milk. So why are these good for us in terms of a recovery drink? Well, why? It contains many natural vitamins and minerals and vitamins like sodium, calcium, potassium, and it's also high in carbohydrates, would you believe, 5 grams per 100 ml. So milk is a very good recovery drink. Okay, and don't mind the skimmed or semi-skimmed, any type of milk is very good for you. Energy drinks are not for hydration. They are not the same as sports drinks or isotonic drinks. So do not ever say a Monster or a Red Bull in terms of hydration. They're not designed to replace electrolytes. High in caffeine, sugars, and calories. You can up 8 teaspoons of sugar in a Monster, and these can lead to heart problems, tooth decay, weight problems. They are not for performance, even though I know a lot of people have them. They are banned in my school. Okay, so that is our hydration. Okay, so make sure you have a good understanding of how important it is to be hydrated, what it takes to be hydrated. First of all, if you are dehydrated, what could be the impact on your performance, and you can track this for your PAP and say that you you checked your hydration over a sustained period of time, and that you're happy that you're drinking 3 liters of water a day, and that's enough for you to get through the day and your training sessions. Okay, and that is us on hydration. Thanks very much.